Industry Talks by ARC Advisory Group.
Hello and welcome to Industry Talks by ARC Advisory Group Europe. This is a series of podcasts where we summarize recent events from the industrial world and have the occasional cup of coffee with a domain expert. My name is David, and I'm here with my colleague Florian from ARC Europe. And Florian, we're going to talk about, in general terms, some industry trends that we've observed recently. Do you want to start with the list?
Yes, thanks, David. So, a lot happened over the last month. We picked the following 4 topics: GE Vernova selling prophecy software, the future of DCS, partnerships around AI, and 2 trade shows that happened in Munich, the IAA as well as the DrinkTech.
Well, let's start with GE. GE Vernova, as it's called, sold off Prophecy software. I know Prophecy from the industrial software, operational software that has a huge installed base. And just in general, GE was once a mighty industrial company. Some years ago, they sold off their discrete automation business to Emerson. Is this the next step in the continuing transformation of GE as a company? And if so, why is this relevant?
Yeah, that's basically the answer. So it's very, very relevant because of that huge install base. And from a user perspective, you do rely on your HMI, you do rely on your MES software to run production. So any ownership change there is always a bit sensible because you want to keep your assets up and running. They are quite expensive. And yes, the continuous restructuring. We saw that with a couple of companies, the GE very, very prominently, really now focusing on energy and the asset management, some software areas. But one of the largest spin-offs we had here in Europe, even in Munich, was the spin-off of Siemens Large Drives, now Innomotics.
Of course, Innomotics.
And it really shows that in that transforming world, also the companies need to transform and adapt.
Interesting. Are there any other trends you could talk about associated with this development?
Yeah, mainly the software as a service trend. So really coming more from the enterprise world, but that means you are no longer selling a CD or a disc, but with a license for 2 years, but it continues revenues. It also means that the revenues drop for a certain amount of time until they actually increase again. And at the same time, you have the costs increase first and then they go down because for a while you have to maintain those systems. For that demands a strategy and invest. It's not an easy transition as repeatedly shown. For users, that's also a change because they now have different cost structures. It's easier to scale up, but they have to keep their costs under control. So this change, the second topic we picked is DCS, and I always make fun of the process industries because I think they never change. But
nothing new ever happens in the process industry. We know that.
So you typically cover PLCs, but now we hear suddenly about virtualization, about DCS and process. What's happening?
All right. As you alluded to, in the discrete area, we're starting to see this IT-OT convergence actually make a difference in terms of virtualization, legacy software, non-time critical software, and now even critical control software. But you asked about DCS. Well, actually, things are happening. They tend to happen a little bit with a sort of a delay of a few years, but things are going on. If you remember, Florian, just a couple of years ago, ABB presented at our forum its concept of a virtualized process control system. So we know that ABB is communicating to the market the intention of doing this.
Orlando or Sitges?
This was here at the European Forum in Sitges in Barcelona just a few years ago. This past summer, Siemens briefed ARC analysts on the future of process automation as they see it, and the centerpiece of the future, besides the influence of AI, was the virtualized DCS. So this technology is coming. Siemens actually has an engineered solution that virtualizes the PCS7 process control system. It's called the Industrial Automation Data Center. It's available. You can have it, but it's not really the same concept they're talking about for the future. In other areas, there's a really interesting software company down in Salzburg called Data. They recently announced a virtualized DCS. This company is not known for control software. They do MES, they do HMI software. So this is a big step for a company like that to take. And a simple software-based DCS does not a process control system make. We all know that. A DCS is a full-blown system that includes instrumentation, safety, a bunch of other features. But they're starting small, and they're saying we're focusing right now just on the pharmaceutical industry. Okay. And that's kind of a hybrid industry. So that is the space that I would start with, actually, if I was just getting out there and gaining customers and wanting to kick things off.
Yeah, to quote Felix Harnisch from Namur a few years ago, he said something like, we have to digitize or die. Is that the answer?
Yes, absolutely. You've got to do something. And the interesting thing is that these technologies today, virtualization and AI, nobody's going to achieve this by themselves. This requires partnerships and even acquisitions, and that's what we're starting to see in the industry landscape.
Right. So, on the topics of partnerships, there were also some announcement around in the AI realm, and we covered that in our newsletter Arkwire, and there are loads of partnerships announced basically on a weekly basis. But what I wanted to pick on very briefly is the announcement that Schneider Electric has a reference design developed for NVIDIA. And as well as Hitachi announced that it agrees to acquire Silvertech, a Germany-based data and AI consulting firm.
So how does that fit into the overall market development?
So when we started the AI research in 2018 here in Europe, we actually thought we are in a hype. Then OpenAI and ChatGPT came and proved us horribly wrong. We are in a hype now. And we already hear a lot of voices that what is real in AI, what can it really do, what can it really improve? And of course, the general discussion is about our daily life, but also in industry, because some things we learned over the years is AI scales poorly. AI needs domain expertise. We need data. There's a lot of things that need to fit together to make it work. And no one can do it on their own. So the Schneider Electric NVIDIA case, it ultimately aims to deploy AI faster on site. So you can do it on site, on the edge where you need it, and you need it there because of speed, of cost, and also security, and because of the sensible data, or all three of them. So it helps to really accelerate that. And the Hitachi case is also, it's a consulting firm around AI. We need to get quicker into action and then actually learn how to use it.
Well, it ties in with what I was saying before, that partnerships, acquisitions, cooperations, openness are what's important. I would call this ecosystems.
Yeah, and we are seeing, maybe exaggerating slightly, but I would call it a battle of ecosystems. So especially small companies cannot afford an own team of AI experts and data scientists. And we need that technology. We need to constantly innovate and improve, because to quote a user or equipment builder I recently talked with, she said, we have to constantly optimize or China will reverse engineer and eat our lunch.
Speaking of the Chinese eating our lunch, I visited the auto show just a few weeks ago in Munich, the IAA mobility show.
David, I'm a keen cyclist, so autos, cars, that are the things with 4 tires, right? So what?
That's why they renamed it mobility. They added to it, so it actually includes things like e-bikes, which are also foreign to you. I understand that. But let me tell you what I saw. This is the classic IAA show that ran in Frankfurt for years and years. It was a big spectacle, lots of glitter, lots of parties as these flashing new models were being introduced. Today, the show is in Munich now for the second time, and it's actually just just a shadow of its former self. The show is not really reflective of the auto industry because a lot of the suppliers have pulled out. The European and the Americans, the Japanese, it's dominated by Chinese suppliers. There were almost only Chinese suppliers there to be seen, except for the two main ones, VW and BMW. But what they could not mask was the problems in the Chinese market. The Chinese are said to have over 100, I've heard 120 different.
I only know BYD.
There's BYD, and then there's like plus.
Okay.
It's a long list, and most of these companies are just making a handful of cars. They're not selling them to anybody because they've overcapacity. They have a saturated market, and recently on the home market in China, they're talking about rebates to move these things along of 30% and more. That's why these automakers have their eye on the European market.
Okay.
They have better technology. That's what we're reading. We're way past that phase where they were copying things and then trying to produce the same technology at a lower cost. They have great cars. They're better than Tesla. I'm going to say this here. They may not be better than the new models coming out from BMW, which was announced, which is the first e-car truly designed as an e-car, not just a car where you take out the gasoline engine and stick in a battery in the floor and then an electric motor. No, these cars have been designed from the ground up as e-cars. And VW also displayed its new model together with Mercedes. They're all meeting this competition coming from China. It's not clear where the market is going.
So overcapacities, well, consumer demand going up and down. I think drink tech is a different beast.
Yeah, a week later, same fairgrounds, different era, different industry. I attended the drink tech, which is an industry closer to my heart because I eat and drink every day. And the drink tech is actually designed for the drinks industry, ranging from soft drinks to brewing, but it includes everything from Indian hops providers wanting to sell their hops on the German market, to the big machine builders, KHS and Kronos, that are exhibiting whole halls full of this fantastic machinery, and even companies that will equip a restaurant with wood paneling and booths and the taps and the bars and everything. It's just this complete show. It's an excellent a way to get a good picture of the industry.
And the automation awareness as well?
Yeah, they're there. They have they're in sort of like the second row. They have smaller booths. They're there just to have their food and bev people show that the particular solution that they're offering. What I did not see was any sort of focus on things like edge and cloud, although I love these topics. They're very close to my heart, because that's not what the end customer, the people that buy this equipment want to see. What they want to see is machines that are reliable and that offer a maximum of machine availability. So that's the and the
So
old.
it's still the old KPIs everyone's looking for, and edge, cloud, AI is helping to achieve that.
Exactly. Those are in the background at the show. Those are very important, but those are not showcased in the foreground.
All right. Thank you, David, for being here, for sharing your opinions and thoughts. And also thanks to you for tuning in. We will link every report that we have written on these specific topics in the show notes, so you can continue reading and inform yourself. If we missed something, if you want us to discuss something specific, please leave a message. Also, please like and subscribe and leave a review, so it helps us to grow the podcast. And yeah, stay in touch and see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Florian. Now it's time to sit back, enjoy a cup of coffee with our colleagues, Thomas and myself. We're going to talk about migration and cybersecurity. I'm David, and I'm here with my colleague Thomas to talk about industrial cybersecurity, some of the latest challenges, and to enjoy a fine cup of coffee during our discussion. Thomas, every year at our European Forum in Barcelona, we have a special session just on industrial cybersecurity. And from my experience, I know that this is one of those overarching issues that touches every aspect of industrial production in the process industries, in the discrete manufacturing industries, and every year there are new aspects to it. So can you update us today on some of the latest challenges in industrial cybersecurity?
Yes, sure, David. It's my pleasure. And I think to keep it simple, to really keep it simple, imagine you're a plant manager of a chemical plant, you're an operator, leading operator, and your management required from you a strategy to harden your control network equipment. So that would be the setup. And the first thing you have to keep in mind is, let's say you will probably use IoT processes. That means you add a lot of sensors and actuators in your plant and you interface them all to the control system to allow fact-based decision to get more data out of the plant. And all these interfaces, they increase the vulnerability of your control system. So you have to think how to overcome, let's say, this weakness, because every vulnerability is a possible weakness. So you have to assess first what's in my control network. So what kind of sensors and actuators, interfaces and gateways are there? And do they have all the latest firmware and everything to be protected? So are the intrinsic vulnerabilities really minimized? So that is the first thing. And if you do so, you have to think how to do this assessment under the actual circumstances. And actual circumstances means you can use your own team members, your own experts to do so. You can buy maybe external software to conduct these kind of assessment, or you can outsource this and you can use external service providers who are doing that for you. It depends a little bit on your situation, of course, on the budget and on the criticality of the plant, but that would be the normal starting point.
So let me get this straight. I think that I need an extra assessment of my current situation. I call in an outside team. I purchase services for industrial cybersecurity. Is it a one-time thing? Is my plant secure after one visit, after one assessment?
Sorry to be rude. No, it isn't. So you have to consider this is really an ongoing process because the attack landscape is changing all the time. You can imagine everybody in the outside world could use AI to develop really an attack code. It is relatively simple. And we know from our research, but we are coming later to our research results, that AI is used to generate malicious code.
But no, AI is our friend. That's what we've learned up till now. I cannot believe that AI can be used for malicious purposes.
Okay, imagine AI can coding. AI codes. And you are the user of AI, is in the control if this is a good or bad code, if this is a good or malicious code. So it is relatively easy to generate malicious code. And the question is, if you use AI on the one hand side, what are you doing on the other side to really defend your control equipment? And to be honest, not too many operators using AI to harden the environment. So keep that in mind. And to answer your question, no, this is not a one-off exercise to call somebody in, do an assessment check, and really rank the criticality of your plant. This should be an ongoing task. You have to do it frequently, maybe every quarter, whatever.
Wow, I'm floored by the fact that AI can be used by our adversaries. On that note, what other trends do you see influencing the implementation of industrial cybersecurity?
We covered that briefly. We covered that already briefly. I think we are losing the experts. We are in an OT environment. In an OT environment, you have really special communication protocols. You may know Profinet, Profibus, this kind of stuff. And all these different communication protocols, they required bespoke security. And you need experts to do so. But we are losing exactly these experts. That's one thing. We have to react somehow. Second thing is really to find and cherry pick the right software to do this assessment checks and this kind of stuff. or at the end, really using these external partners, and you have to develop a matrix, a filter matrix, to select what are the services an external provider delivers to me, and then you have to cherry pick what you need. So to answer your question clearly, all starts with your situation. How many experts are in your team? What is the team size? What is the criticality of your plant? And then you have to develop a strategy to conduct a proper assessment.
Well, it sounds like there's quite a market out there for industrial cybersecurity software, for services. How big's the market, Thomas?
This market is quite huge. According to the latest ASC studies, the market for cybersecurity services reaches more than $1 billion. Imagine, more than $1 billion.
Just for services?
Just for services.
Wow.
More than $1 billion worldwide. And on top of that, the managed services are the highest growing area. These cater in these kind of service types is really high, and that is an outperforming. For example,
can you explain what managed services is exactly?
Managed services is exactly what you asked in the beginning. You said, "Is this a one-off exercise?" And I said, "No, it isn't." So if you conduct a managed service provider, or if you conduct, let's say, managed services, you will ask your service provider. He comes in and really maintain your control equipment, let's say every day, every week, every quarter. So he is scanning the network to really detect ongoing attacks. He updates your control equipment with the right firmware to really close vulnerabilities and this kind of stuff. That is all under the umbrella of managed services. And that is, of course, something, let's say, smaller to medium size companies and the operators are using, because as I said before, the number of experts is really limited, and we have to be realistic to do it properly. You need external service providers who has the know-how and the tools. Don't forget, you need the right tools for all these different communication protocols to do a proper assessment and maybe take corrective action to harden your control equipment.
Wow, Thomas, there's a lot going on in this space.
Sorry for that.
Some of the information floored me today, but I find it really interesting to sit here, enjoy a good cup of coffee, to discuss the latest challenges. And I know you're currently recruiting really great speakers for our ICS session at the ARC Industry Forum in Barcelona.
Yep.
And I look forward to that session. Thanks for joining me today, Thomas.
Okay, it was my pleasure. The coffee smells really good, and we should come to an end here and enjoy our good cup of coffee. Thank you, David.
Hello, this is the ARC Advisory Group. We cannot take your call as we are recording a podcast. Please leave a message.
Hi, Thomas. Yeah, here is my feedback to the question you raised, or we raised, AI and OT cybersecurity risks. Well, when I consider cybersecurity risk in the OT area, I consider 3 components. First one is threat. And yes, threat will increase. AI will support the work of attackers. We will face more attacks, for sure. On the other hand, second component of risk is resilience, and AI will support our work, the work of defenders. It does support already our work. So we'll be more able to respond. And the third question is the exposure. How will AI change the service our OT provides to threat? We will use AI for process optimization or autonomous plants, and how this will change our service against threats. I think that's still an interesting question. We should think about that a lot.
Industry Talks by ARC Advisory Group.